Oscar-winning actor invented a chess opening. Today we have an extremely special video because we're going over a game that was played by an Oscar-winning actor, and this game is so nasty that he got his own opening named after him. And if you're wondering who on earth is this Oscar award-winning actor, it is Humphrey Bogart. Humphrey Bogart, according to the American Film Institute, is the greatest actor of all time. And he invented an opening, so let's just get into it. Just a bit of context, this game was played in 1933, and Bogart is playing an unknown opponent. So Humphrey opens up with the move d4. Here we see the move knight f6, and here you would expect to move like c4, maybe knight c3, maybe bishop f4, the London system. But no, we see the move g4, and off the bat, we're in the Humphrey Bogart gambit. White has just lashed out with a pawn here, just madman stuff. This pawn was taken, knight g4, and what makes this gambit also very special is that in this variation, most of the players play the move e4. This move is played almost 95% of the time. But here we see the novelty, the move f3, and this move is never played. After the move knight f6, retreating the knight to the most logical square, we see the move e4. And you might be wondering here, what is White's compensation for this lost pawn on g4? Well, White has a lovely center here, and the center is the most important part of the board. It said he who controls the center controls the game. After this move e4, we see d6, so black just trying to get their own development out as well. We see bishop f3 by Bogart, and now g6, so black looking at a kind of King's Indian type of setup. And now we see the move knight c3, we see bishop g7, here we see queen d2, and this move queen d2 is a very interesting move because it's going to completely change the landscape of this game. After the move knight c6, now that this queen is not on the d1 square, white can actually castle, and we see this castles queen side and black castles king side. So we have castles of opposite sides. One side has gone queen side and one side has gone king side. Let me tell you something about castles of opposite sides. The game gets extremely dangerous. You know, we're in for a ride here. Castles of opposite sides, open files everywhere. It's nasty. And the reason why castles of opposite sides is so deadly is because, say, normally white's king would be here on g1. Obviously, this pawn structure would not normally be here. White's pawns would kind of all be in a row here. But because white's king is on this square, c1, and is away from this side of the board, all these pawns can move up the board, because normally if they were to move up the board, they would be damaging king safety because the king would be here. So the reason why this is going to be such a deadly game is because both sides can fly pawns up the board without compromising their king safety. And after this move castles king side, we see the move bishop d3, so Bogart getting his pieces into the game, and we see the move e5, so black striking in the center, as the center is so important. And you see at some point black has to contest the center. White has a choice here, can either take here or white can go d5 like Humphrey does, also gaining more space in the opponent's camp. Just like in war, the more space you have in your opponent's camp, the more options you have. So with this move d5, the knight is attacked, so the move knight b4, and I've had situations like this in my own game where the knight has come to b4. I've got a bishop on d3. I don't really want to move it because I've just moved it, but here we see something fairly instructive. You see the move bishop c4. So yes, this bishop has moved twice, but you don't really want to allow black to exchange your light squared bishop, as this light squared bishop maybe just be staring at pawns right now, but will become a deadly part of this game. So we're just saving the light squared bishop with the move bishop c4. Since white is not attacking anything of black, black takes this opportunity to play the move a5, so getting their pawns up the board, starting the attack pretty much. If black can get the pawns up the board, then, you know, this king's going to be in serious trouble. And also, I forgot to mention Humphrey Bogart's name. I used to have a cat named Humphrey, but he unfortunately passed away. So I try to dedicate this video to my cat Humphrey. But after this move a5, we see the move a3 going after black's knight. And if you notice, this knight pretty much has nowhere to go. If you look at all these squares are occupied, so has to go to a6. Since black is not really threatening anything, Humphrey plays the move h4, launching pawns up this side of the board. If Humphrey can make a dent in black's pawn structure, it's gonna be bad for black. And the threat of h5 is very serious. A downside of this pawn structure is that if a pawn gets to f5 or h5, black kind of has to react or do something. Otherwise, white can simply take and gets an open file. So that is one downside of the pawn structure, but black will make sure nothing like that happens, will at least try, and play the move knight h5, blocking the advancement of this pawn. Here we see the move knight g to e2, Humphrey just getting all these pieces into the game. Black has to do something here, and black plays the move f f5. Like I said, the importance of the center is so great in chess that, as you see, Humphrey has sacrificed a pawn for it. You'll see top grandmasters sacrifice pawns for it, pieces for it. So this move f5, chipping away at white's center, trying to damage his position. Here there's actually a threat of the move f4. So if you play a move like rook g1, then the move f4, close down the bishop. Instead, not playing rook g1 here. Instead, we see the move bishop g5, bishop f6, and now we see the move f4 by Humphrey. And here, this move f4 does invite some captures. We see takes, knight takes. Notice how this knight is pretty much doing nothing. So takes, we see a knight f4, queen f4, and now takes. Here, Bogart plays a fairly risky move, a fairly bold move, and plays the move bishop h6, going after this rook, which seemingly walks into a scary discovery of bishop c3. In the game, the rook was under attack, so the move rook e8 was played. And here the game gets good. Here the move knight e4 is played. This knight is hopping in. From a practical and objective standpoint, white has the better position. Here, after this move knight e4, attacking this bishop on f6, we see the move bishop g7, which is not a good move. It doesn't lose the game, but it's not a good move, because after takes, remember, this bishop was pretty much the sole defender of these dark squares, because after takes and takes, white has other pieces that can attack on these dark squares. You may be wondering why I'm talking about the dark squares, as these pawns are occupying the light squares, and in structures like this, where white has created the fianchetto pawn structure, normally the dark squares are weak, as you can see. And after this move king g7, this king looks very weak. And here we see the move h5, so Bogart flinging these pawns up the board. We see a bishop f5, black trying to hold the glue, but after takes and takes, black's position is in grave danger. Here we see the move queen h6, check, and after king g8, we see this rook, which hasn't done really anything for the whole game, rook g1. And it's scary for black here. We see queen e7, Bogart's opponent trying to hold on. Here we see one of the nastiest moves I think I've ever seen. We see the move rook g6, just so dirty. After hg6, you know, you may as well take this. After this, and after king f7, which is forced, rook h7 is checkmate. And after this, Humphrey Bogart won the game, and this game was so nasty, he got awarded his own chess opening. And now in my books, you know, lots of people say you can't complete the game of chess. If you get an opening named after you, you've pretty much completed the game. And that is the end of the video. If you want to see more videos like this, like and subscribe. It would also be much appreciated. And if you're interested in any of my other videos, got some right here. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day.